My friend Dan McLaughlin had a write-up about this, about Alan Weisselberg. He's the guy, he was the former CFO for Trump Organization. And he had, I like how McLaughlin describes it. They were trying to get him, I think, on some J6 stuff. It's same thing. It's similar to what they were trying to do with Manafort. Remember, a really quick 30-second history lesson. With Manafort, they were investigating him for stuff relating to everything, for Trump. And then they ended up finding these, tax fraud, all this stuff. And that's anything else that they find that you do of a criminality, they can hit you for. And that's what they did. In fact, at Manafort's trial, you couldn't even bring up Russia collusion or Russia because it had nothing to do with his case. I mean, you can read about that. That was actually, prosecution was barred. Now, on this instance, McLaughlin describes the charges against Weisselberg as fairly piddling tax fraud charges. Now, I think tax fraud is impossible because taxation is theft. So you're trying to defraud someone who's trying to rob you. I have my own characterization of that. So you guys can, I'm like, so where's the crime? That's just how I'm looking at it. Yes, I have a great accounting firm. I have to, because we would totally get bent over a barrel and audited every 6 ways to Sunday by hateful administrations. So he described them, and I like this, that fairly piddling tax fraud charges on which he was indicted by the Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, right? This was last year. Now, it was never about Alan Weisselberg, and it was never about, his what he was accused of. They wanted to show some kind of progress against Trump. That's it. They wanted to show some, like, oh, look, we're working for you. We're working on behalf of this. We're working. Don't forget, here we are. Now, I think under the plea deal, he spends like a couple months in prison and that's it. I don't know. They were trying to I think they were also trying to squeeze him like they did Manafort to get his cooperation against Trump. And they squeezed Cohen. Cohen had tax fraud charges, if memory serves, as well. And then Cohen tried to act like he knew a bunch of stuff about Trump and apparently didn't. They squeezed him and he caved. But he didn't know anything because there was nothing, all the stuff that they were accusing Trump of, there was no evidence. And so this case, because it's just, it's a little, it's pretty much, the way that McLaughlin describes it, and this is accurate, the Manhattan DA's Trump Organization case ends with a whimper. That's it. This was nothing but another witch hunt, and they didn't get anything. At all this time that they were doing this, all they did is get this old dude on a couple of piddly little tax fraud charges. Yeah, again, taxation's theft. How dare you try to defraud the people trying to rob you? And everyone's like, the walls are closing in. It's the same thing as Mueller is coming. Never happened. That's it. He didn't find anything. Never happened. Now, this was interesting because before this, the New York Times had the resignation letter from the assistant DA, Mark Pomerantz. He sent it to Bragg because he wanted, I guess he wanted him to like come up with some things that weren't there. Pomerantz was like railing, he's guilty of all these things, but he never actually was able to enumerate anything of which he was actually guilty. And the issue here is really who is the victim? Because Trump was the victim. You're victimizing the guy over and over again. They give him so much power. They don't understand this. If you want to destroy somebody, you ignore them into irrelevancy. You don't feed them and consistently bolster it's not an image, it's real, but you don't bolster your perceived image of David versus Goliath by constantly becoming the Goliath and making him the David over and over again. It's just wild how they do this. They make their own mess. So yeah, they found nothing in this case either. Just like they found nothing with the Mar-a-Lago thing. They're never going to unseal that affidavit because there's nothing there. This has all ever been a witch hunt. Only.